Jay White is right here behind us. He is the owner and publisher of Texas Gardener Magazine. I started taking Texas Gardener Magazine as a student. I have never quit. And I tell you, I read it from cover to cover every single month. I love this magazine. It's always different. And I think the new students that are starting might want to consider it. All Master Gardeners get a $3 discount on their annual. And you can get it in a paper copy like this, or you can get it digitally. And when you do that, you get how many years of...
12 and a half years of the magazine.
Yeah, 12 and a half years of the magazine stored for you.
And it's all searchable and all of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're talking about, this is like a real treasure. How long has Texas Gardener Magazine been out for print?
So this is... Yes, who said that?
Who said that?
I just guessed it. I just said 45.
45 years?
Give him the calendar.
Give me a calendar. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Jay before he gets started. Not only is he, the magazine dude, but he's an avid gardener himself, and he's a huge supporter of the local farmers in his area in Burnham. He knows everybody. He knows everybody. He has a bachelor's in agriculture and a master's, A&M, right?
From A&M.
From A&M. Agriculture. I mean, this man, he knows the nitty and the gritty. And right now, in our world, we have a huge interest in sustainability in our gardens. How to grow gardens, how to keep our food that we produce, how to store it. And so, right now, that's, you get on Facebook, like Kat, you get on Facebook, that's what everybody wants to hear about, sustainability. So I figured that he has a lot of different talks that he can give, but I wanted to hear the one that we're going to hear tonight, which is Grandma survived the Depression because her supply chain was local and she could do stuff. That sounds like sustainability to me. Yeah. So, without further ado, please put your hands together. Welcome, Jay White.
Thank y'all. Y'all really make me feel welcome. Thank you. And did I turn this on? Is this working? I assume this is the microphone.
Yes.
You're recording.
Leave it up on the desk there, it's fine.
Okay. I move around, so a lot. so leave it up here or leave it plugged in?
You can wear it if you want to.
Okay. I don't think y'all will have problems hearing me. So how many people have heard me before? Yay, that's awesome, that's awesome. So y'all know the shtick, right? I don't want to just stand up here and preach. I'm going to move around, I'm going to ask questions, and if you get them right, what am I going to give you?
Something good.
Fertilizer, okay? And if you get them wrong, what am I going to give you? Fertilizer, right? So I just like for us to get together. Y'all are all master gardeners. Y'all know how to garden, and so I like that participation. I don't know if y'all remember this, so I just want to tell y'all. So I do a lot of these talks every year. My wife and I do about 40 of these a year, and there are very few that I remember. But I remember the first time I came and talked to your group. I don't know who, y'all might have been here. I'm sure most of y'all were if you put your hands up.
How many years ago was it?
It was 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And we got into a discussion about what organic was, the government organic label and the organic bananas. And I will never forget that discussion. That was one of the most fun times that went totally off script. But that's okay. I like off script. So anyway, y'all, thank y'all for having me back. It's just very funny. I tell you, we do a lot of these. And so y'all might not be the biggest group that I go to, but I will say y'all have got the biggest spirit. You can go to a group that'll have 150 people and they're dead. Y'all are definitely not dead. So I'm here to have fun. I hope y'all are here to have fun, you know. So before we get started, I just will do a little bit of business. Like I said, we're starting our 45th year of doing the magazine, and we do have a Master Gardener discount. I just changed it for this year, and I cannot remember what it is, so I'm going to text my daughter, and she will send it to us before I leave. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you a little bit kind of about the magazine, like Pam, you brought up. So we sell primarily the print magazine. And how many people know what the January, February issue of our magazine, what do we call this issue?
First issue.
Well, no. But who said that?
Spring gardening.
Nope. Did you say the first issue? You participated, you're going to get a magazine. So every year we call the January, February issue of our magazine the tomato issue. Okay? And so just FYI, for a magazine, what is today's date is a special date to the tomato grower. What? Yes, ding, 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 ding. So, January 15th. If you don't start your tomato seeds by now, then every day that you wait, you're going to have smaller plants that you're going to need to put out. I'm sorry?
I said protein.
Yeah, well, so anyway, I mean, most people here are tomato growers, right? I mean, 86% of the people that garden in the world, they say they grow tomatoes. So anyway, this is the tomato issue, and it's time to plant tomato seeds. Now, you brought up the digital magazine. Just FYI, that digital magazine, and I want to let y'all know, we've got several products here. One of them is the planning guide that Maria, we're going to make these available to you. I'll tell you about that real quick. These are going to be $15. They're $18.95 on the website with shipping and all of that. They're $24. So if you got $15 tonight, this is a great, great resource. We'll pass some of these around so you can look at them if you've never seen them before. It's 180 daily tips of what you need to be doing in your garden. It's room to record everything you do. One of our sayings that we have is great gardeners are journaling gardeners, okay? And so if you can't remember what your favorite tomato was last year, then you're going to repeat the same mistakes that you have. So we're going to pass that around. We'll have those at the end if you're interested in them. So we have the planning guide. You know, it's fresh off the presses. It's new right now. Another thing that we have is we have an ebook that we just put out this year. How many people remember Dr. Sam Cotner's book, The Vegetable Book? Okay, for the vegetable book, for many of you old-timers, this is called, it's literally, it was the Master Gardener's Bible. Especially in this area, David Rodriguez, San Antonio, this was the book that they sold with you. We've taken that information, we've updated it. This is a $12.95 ebook, downloaded on the website. It's got everything you need in here. And one thing that it really has that I like, it has a problem solution chart in the back that will help you figure out why your leaves are yellow, why your plants have got spots on them, things like that. And that's it. Oh, and the digital magazine. So a lot of our products, if you ever go to our website and you try to buy something, and you're a master gardener and you subscribe, I would suggest calling the office because we bundle things. So like if you're a subscriber and you decide that you would like to add the digital magazine, like I say, very nice tool, 12.5-year archive, fully searchable. On the website, that's $19.95 if you buy it by itself. But since you're a subscriber, if you call the office, we'll give it to you for $9. Okay? So I just recommend if you like the magazine, if you like our products, either read the website very carefully or just call my wife and she'll make sure you get the best deal. All right? So,
Wife's name?
Sally.
Very nice lady.
Very, very nice lady. I like her. So anyway,
More than that.
I'm sorry?
Better be more than just liking her.
I love her. She made my Texas gardener dreams come true. So, All right, tonight, I'm generally used to giving, hardcore gardening advice. How do you grow this? How do you grow that? How do you kill this? How do you kill that? And all. Tonight's speech is more of an inspirational talk, all right? And it also has the longest title of any talk I've ever come up with. Grandma survived the Great Depression because her supply chain was local and she can do stuff. She could do stuff. Anybody want to take a guess as to when I started coming up with this topic?
COVID.
Ding, 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 ding. Who said COVID first? All right, here's fertilizer for you. Very good. So, when I bought this magazine from the man that started, Chris Corby, he told me, he said, Jay, I kind of hate to tell you this, but hard times are good for the gardening industry. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, when people are worried about pinching pennies or things like that, they think they're going to save money by growing food. And I said, oh, okay. And I will say that he was right. I don't know about y'all, but COVID was very good for the gardening industry, okay? But what COVID was also very good at was it kind of, I think, opened our eyes to some things, and that's where that supply chain came in, During COVID, if you remember, there were things that got hard to get, like toilet paper and Tylenol and all of that. And so that was one of the first times I woke up and kind of said, we might want to take a few little steps to kind of be prepared in case things like this happen again. And that's kind of what this talk is about, okay? So it brings in, you said sustainability. We're going to talk about sustainability. Sustainability is one of the hottest terms in agriculture right now. Can anybody tell me there's another super hot term that's kind of related very closely to sustainability? Anybody want to tell me the...
Affordability.
What?
Affordability.
No, but you've already got a planning guide, so I'm going to... It starts with an R. Ding, 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 ding. Regenerative agriculture. Okay? So regenerative agriculture is the hot new term, and it is all about sustainability. All right? So we're going to talk about sustainability. I'm going to give you some of the things. When I give these talks, I tell people there are a million reasons to garden, and they're all good. All right? They're all good. And so I tell people, when you decide you're going to be a gardener, you have to ask yourself, what kind of gardening are you going to do? Why are you doing it? So this is one of those options, because if one of your goals is to leave the earth in better shape than you found it, provide more fresh, wholesome, healthy food for you and your family, or survive if things get real bad, then this is the talk for you. Okay? So, this is my grandmother. And this is very interesting to me. Anybody, for a bag of fertilizer, just throw out a number. How old do you think my grandmother is in that picture?
45.
Dang, you're good. So, my grandmother, in that picture, my grandmother is 48 years old. And I thought, my God, life was hard during the Depression and World War II. Because my 48-year-old grandmother looks about 70. So, no, come on. Well, this is my grandmother in her garden, 1946.
Where at?
Streetman, Texas.
Oh, where?
Anybody know where Streetman, Texas is? It's right off of 45. It's in between Fairfield and Corsicana. So... Still don't know where that is?
45 goes up from Houston to Dallas.
Well, yeah, 45, it's east-west highway, or north, yeah, it is. It kind of divides Texas. I think of it as the start of East Texas.
Yeah.
So it's truly on the edge of East Texas. My granddad was a cotton farmer, a cattleman, and my grandmother was a gardener, a canner, a feeder. She took care of everything else, okay? So, let me see how this is.
Don't show me it.
Huh? Did it go?
Yeah.
Okay, this is my Aunt Sarah. And we'll talk about my Aunt Sarah a little bit later. But my family, and many of your family, I've talked to some of y'all while we were waiting here, they grew up in a time where they couldn't just go to the grocery store, okay? A lot of them didn't even have money if there was a grocery store. And so they learned to rely on themselves and their abilities. And so I'm going to highlight my gardening mentors, okay? So I'm not sure how y'all came to gardening. I've kind of been around it my whole life. I've always been surrounded by really good gardeners, people that love to garden, and it's just been a part of our life. I mean, in fact, when I went to college the first time, I was going to be an ag teacher. I loved agriculture. That's all I wanted to do, teach agriculture. And that was in the middle 80s, and the oil crashed, and I couldn't get a job, so I went in the United States Air Force. And so for years, I always wanted to get back to agriculture, and the only key that I had to agriculture was gardening. It just kept me kind of grounded. It kept, it was an aspirational thing. I wasn't feeding my family. It was just comfort. It was just what I'd been growing up around. So, I like to say, every time I go into my garden, I take several people with me. Now, they're all in my head. I wish they were there and could help me, but I take several people with me into my garden. One of the persons that I take is pretty famous, and the others were what I call heroes, okay? I was really taught to garden by two impressive men. One of them did not finish high school because he went off and fought World War II. One of them went off and fought World War II and didn't go good for him. So one of these men, the famous one, kind of taught me the whys to garden, and really the kind of philosophy that I follow now, and the others taught me how, okay? So the first one that I'm going to throw, just FYI, for fertilizer, does anybody want to guess what is the best-selling ecological tome ever written? And what I mean by that, this is a book with an ecological message. I can tell you this, it was written in 1971, and they were trying to get it written for the first Earth Day. They did not make the first Earth Day, but they made the second Earth Day. It's a small book. It's easy to read. Anybody want to guess what the best-selling ecological book ever written?
I was born in 71, so I don't really know, but I'm going to say the Farmer's Almanac.
I'm going to give you the Farmer's Almanac, but that was actually written in about 1750. So that one was a little earlier. But I will tell you, just like the Farmer's Almanac, this one has a blue and yellow cover. Yeah.
Maybe not.
Go ahead.
Fundamentals of ecology.
What is it?
Fundamentals of ecology.
You're getting closer, okay? Would you be surprised if I told you that the best, what?
Green Spring.
Green Spring, that was a good one. It's not the one I'm looking for. Would you be surprised if I told you that the best-selling ecological tome ever written was written by this guy, Theodor Geisel, Dr. Seuss, and it's called The Lorax.
Oh, I love the Lorax.
How many people have read The Lorax? All right? I speak for the trees. Why? For the trees have no tongues, right? So, Dr. Seuss's book has been translated into just about every language on the planet. It has tried to be banned by the U.S. forest industry. I mean, this is a hardcore, what do you call it? This is one of those books that, subversive book. This was a subversive book. So when I was growing up, I was born a little bit before 1971, and so this book, I got this book early, and then I had a biology teacher, and when I was in high school, and on the days that he didn't want to teach, and he wanted to grade pictures or whatever, he would show us the Lorax. So I got the message of the Lorax burned into me at an early age, and I still believe in it. And so just somebody summarize for me real quick, what is the message of the Lorax?
Respect nature.
Take care of the earth. What? Who said all that? Boom. Take care of nature. Respect the earth. Okay? All right, I'm going to go crazy here. I'm going to give away
Precious. Air is precious.
Air is precious. Yes, air is precious. So I'm going to give away a planting guide. If anybody can tell me what the last line of the Lorax is. Without going to your phone. What? That's not the one I was looking for. I'll give you fertilizer for that, but so unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. And that's the Lorax, okay? And that's kind of how I look at gardening. You know, there's a lot of good reasons to garden. There's a million different ways to garden. But I think those of us that grew up through the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and all of that, we're the ones that are driving this push towards sustainability, regenerative, and I'll wrap it up real quick and move on with this quote. How many people know who John Dromgoole is? The natural gardener in Austin. Okay, if you haven't ever been to his place, you need to go. It's an amazing place, 100% organic, no herbicides, no pesticides, beautiful, beautiful garden. And John was a leader in the early organic movement in Texas. Now, y'all are master gardeners, and I'm hearing these classes 41, 38. You know, y'all been doing this for a while. So how many people remember a chemical called malathion? Okay, malathion. Man, it was great, right? It was milky white, stunk. But if you had a whitefly problem, spray it with malathion, right? And your stuff would go away. Well, John told me, we were just chatting about stuff. And he does about as many talks as I do. He's constantly out there pushing organics, regenerative, all of that. And he said he finally feels like after 40 to 50 years of out there preaching organics to people, he kind of feels like he's finally won. And he said the reason he feels like he's kind of won is he said he was giving a talk to some group in Austin. Okay, but it was a younger crowd, okay? It was younger kids. I say younger kids, 40 and below. And so anyway, but he said he brought up malathion. And he said when he brought up malathion and he looked out across the room, he realized not a single person in the room knew what malathion was. They had never heard of it. And so I don't know if that means that organics have won or regenerative have won, but I will say it has definitely been a change, okay? So things really have changed, and I think they're changing for the better. So I love Dr. Seuss, I love the Lorax, and I try to leave the world a little bit better than I found it, okay? So that built my philosophy. But then there are a couple of men, say Dr. Seuss taught me the whys, then there are a couple of men that taught me the hows. And I think I went one too far. Nope. All right, I'll start with him. Okay, remember the picture of my Aunt Sarah on the tractor?
Yeah. How old was she?
28.
In that picture, she was probably about 40. I mean, that was a Macy Ferguson.
28.
Yeah, that was a 70s model Macy Ferguson. So she was a mother. How about that? So this is her husband, Tom Chandler, and my two cousins. And I love this picture. I wish this picture was in color because what are they sitting in? Blue bonnets. I love that. Texans have been taking pictures in blue bonnets for as long as there's been cameras. And another thing that I noticed is if you look down here in the blue bonnets, he set down his can of Pearl beer just long enough to get out there and take a blue bonnet picture with my cousins. Okay?
That was very decent.
Huh?
No, that was decent of him. He
That was decent of him. And there's not things much more Texan than sitting your Pearl beer in the middle of the Bluebonnets to take the family.
Lone Star might be a
Well, but Lone Star probably wasn't even around then. So I don't know when Lone Star started, but Pearl beer started in the 1890s. So anyway, my Uncle Tom, he was a farm kid. Both my Uncle Tom and my Aunt Sarah, they were farm kids from Freestone County, all right? And my Uncle Tom left Freestone County and joined the Army Air Corps because he wanted to leave, and I just love this term. He said, I wanted to leave the root hog and die life of dry land farming in Freestone County. So he joined the Air Force. He was 17. He went to basic training, and he flew to his first duty assignment to the island of Corregidor in the Philippines.
You don't want to be in the Philippine Islands at that time.
You did not want to be in the Philippine Islands at that time. So the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor on December, when? 7th. A month and a half later, they started bombing the Philippines. Okay? So my uncle was captured on the island of Bataan. He was wounded. He had his hearing blown out. He was full of shrapnel. And that's the only reason he did not go on the Bataan Death March. So he actually got to ride in a truck to his first prisoner of war camp. And he spent the entire war in Japanese prisoner of war camps. And he was tortured, he was starved, he was used in medical experiments. And when he came home, after almost 4 years being a Japanese POW, he weighed less than 80 pounds. He was deaf, mostly deaf, but he vowed that he would never go hungry again. Okay? So that experience that he had greatly changed his view of the world and what was important, and all of a sudden he was pretty glad that he grew up in that root hog and die dry land farming that he so much wanted to get away from it. So my Uncle Tom, this is my earliest experience of gardening. And I also learned something else from Uncle Tom. Okay, for fertilizer, anybody want to guess what my definition of what separates gardening from farming? No, not fertilizer, but I'll give you some. Huh? A tractor. Who said tractor? There you go. If you're using a tractor, if your garden's so big you're using a tractor, then I think you're involved in small-scale agriculture. Huh?
No, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. So my uncle, he always kept a 1-acre garden, and he did use a tractor. But like I say, he lived in Freestone County, not known for ample rainfall and all of that. And so he put his garden by one of his tanks. He always ran a sump pump, and he watered his garden in the furrows. He would side dress or side water and side fertilize on those furrows. And that's how he grew. And he grew enough food every year that he and my Aunt Sarah could live out of their pantry. They did not have to go to the store. Now they could. They were both very successful people. He wound up being a president of a bank. But he would not go hungry again. Okay? So now, the next man that taught me to garden, he also went to fight World War II, but he didn't get to finish high school before he went. He went to finish, and he went to fight World War II. When he came back, he was a carpenter. He did whatever he could to make a living for his family. And he gardened in one of the most challenging places in Texas that I knew of at the time. Now I think it's very similar to where y'all garden, okay? He gardened in very high, cleachy, calcified soils of Bosque County, Texas. Does anybody know where Bosque County is?
Yes.
Clifton, who?
I'm from Clifton.
Oh, you're from Clifton? Okay, so Garland was from Norse.
Oh, I know. I used to live out there by Norris.
There you go. Huh? Bosque County.
Bosque County.
So if you're going down Highway 6 from Waco,
Yep.
and you're going to Stephenville, Bosqueville's right in the middle. I mean,
I lived out there by
Bosque
Norris,
County.
the Norris Church.
yes, well,
Which is in the most haunted churches in Texas. Yeah.
yep. So I know we're here to talk gardening, but this is very fascinating. No, this is fascinating. No, this is very fascinating to me. So, because I'm going to tell you about Garland's house, and this plays in, and you'll know this. So she said she grew up next to the Lutheran church.
Yeah.
So, Texas is known for its immigrants, right?
You bet.
So, but most of the immigrants that people know about in Texas are Germans, Czechs, and Poles.
Yeah, you got a problem with that?
No, but they get all the press, okay? But Garland lived next to the Old Norse Church, and in fact, not only did he live next to the Old Norse Church, he lived in the parsonage of the Old Norse Church. His house sat on top of a hill. His garden was at the bottom of the hill, okay? And then it ran into the cemetery for the Old Norse Church. Now, this is unrelated, but quite fascinating to me. That cemetery holds the remains of a famous Norwegian named Ole Ringnes, okay? Now, do you know anybody? I'll give you 2 bags of fertilizer if you can tell me what Ole Ringnes did and why he was so important, a Norwegian immigrant, because these were Norwegians. They built rock fences that are still there. They built rock churches. They were a little-known group, but they did big things. Ole Ringnes, for 2 bags of fertilizer.
They start a college?
He what?
College?
Nope, but it's for agriculture. He invented something that guaranteed changed the trajectory of Texas agriculture and agriculture in the whole world. You said the plow? Dang. Oh. So, Ole Ringnes invented the disc plow.
Oh, disc.
He invented the disc plow. Okay? John Deere.
Plow.
It is a plow. Well, okay.
No, never mind.
So John Deere invented the moldboard plow, which breaks it up and makes it ugly, but the disc goes in and makes rows and makes it nice, okay? So anyway, Garland Allen lived there, and he lived in this parsonage. And this thing really, I think I was really fortunate to know Garland Allen, because Garland is what I would call a homesteader before people knew what homesteading was, okay? And so really, what else I have to talk about in this talk really goes back to what I learned from Garland. So Garland lived in Bosque County, doesn't rain a lot, high calcium soils, very basic, just tough place to grow. Garland's house was on the top of a hill, and he had a massive cistern installed, 2 stories tall, and he had his whole upstairs plumbed, all the gray water, to continually go into that cistern, plus it caught all the water when it rained and all of that. And that is how Garland watered his garden. He didn't have a pump. He didn't have a pump down there. He had a giant cistern on the top of a hill that he ran hoses down from, and gravity flow watered his garden, okay? And through years, Garland raised Barbados sheep, which they ate. He had chickens, he had a little homestead, and he would take everything that he mucked out of those stalls. He would capture all the manure. When they shaved the sheep, he would even put the sheep shavings in the ground. And so he continually turned that stuff up. And by the time Garland was this age, he regularly grew 6-pound cantaloupes in the Bosque County soil. And not only did Garland garden this way, but he also took a pickaxe and dug into a Cleachy hill, and he made a root cellar. And so his wife Ruth would can everything, and then they would literally store it in a root cellar. And Garland died back in the early 1990s. But he and Ruth lived, I think, the way that my ancestors lived, the way y'all's ancestors lived. And the one thing that I knew about Garland is they never went hungry. Garland always was able to put enough food on the table because he could do stuff. He knew stuff. He could fix stuff. He never bought anything, okay? When he had too much water, he would save up all of his 2-liter Coke bottles, and when he had too much water, he'd fill his 2-liter Coke bottles up, and then you'd go in his barn, and his barn would be lined with 2-liter bottles of water. And I was like, Garland? I said, why are you doing that? And he said, because I've been out of water before. And that stuck with me. So anyway, so these are the people that taught me to garden. I think I was very lucky to have these men in my life when I was very young. And so it still guides me today, and I think it's guiding more and more of us. So I went out here and I said, we're going to talk about sustainability. What does sustainability mean? You know, you have people throw all these words out. Okay, master gardeners for fertilizer. Okay, here's a word that we throw out all the time in our literature, and I get so many calls at the office about it. What is a brassica? What is a brassica?
Broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts.
But how do you know that? A cole crop. A blue-leafed cole crop. A brassica.
I read it in a book.
Because you read it in a book. So, this is another little quick story. So I used to date this girl when I was in the Air Force. Lovely girl. And we stopped by the side of the road one day to admire nature. And so I looked out in this field, and there were all of these black, white-faced cows. And so I said, those are black baldies, that's an F1 cross. And she said, what's an F1 cross? And I said, well, that's genetics, okay? It's a first-generation cross, and if you cross a Hereford with an Angus, you will always get a black cow with a white face. And she looked at me, and she was serious, and she goes, that's fascinating. I had no idea there was science in agriculture. And I will never forget that. So, back to the brassicas. Everything in agriculture is science. Everything in gardening is science. So, when you throw out that word brassica, you know what it means, but why do we throw that word brassica out all the time?
Because all the broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, it's all too much to say.
It is a genus. Every plant that she just mentioned is in the genus Brassica. Okay? So, isn't that fascinating? That's science and agriculture. Science and agriculture. Okay, I got off track, but sustainability. So what sustainability means is meeting our own needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Okay? My wife's been around me a long time, and sometimes I'm surprised when I surprise her with stuff I say. But we were driving through the country one time, and they had harvested all the cotton. It was gone. The soil was bare. It was red. To me, it's ugly, but if you live in a place where you got red clay, you might like it. But anyway, she was like, look at that field. Isn't that lovely? Look how it's turned up. And I said, yeah, it's dead. And she said, what? And I said, it's dead. She goes, what do you mean it's dead? And I said, that soil is dead. There's no life in that soil. And she was like, I don't understand, and she was taken aback. And I was like, that's true. I said, the way they grow cotton, they plant cotton seeds, they put down tons of fertilizer when they need the fertilizer, they put down the water comes, the rain comes, the fertilizer, the cotton grows, and then they completely strip the cotton. Completely strip it. What feeds your soil? Organic matter. Okay? If you completely strip the organic matter from soil year after year after year, the soil is going to eventually die. Now, it's not going to be completely dead. There's always going to be microbial life in it, but it's not going to be rich, healthy microbial life. Okay? So, when we say, what does it mean that you are going to meet your own needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs? What does that mean to y'all?
Don't kill the soil.
That's it. Don't kill the soil. Do you want fertilizer?
Yeah.
So,
Oh my God. Y'all need to
So-
know. It took me 10 months to book him. I deserve some fertilizer for that.
yes, you do. So, with regenerative, I'm going to throw another definition up here, sustainability, regenerative. I think of them kind of in the same family. The ability to meet our physical needs without relying heavily on commercial retail systems. Okay? So now, yes, sir.
I take it you're not a big fan of anhydrous ammonia.
No, I love anhydrous ammonia. Okay? So I'm gonna ask you a story. I love anhydrous ammonia. I love.
Kills the soil.
Well, it doesn't have to kill the soil, okay? It doesn't have to kill the soil. So, I'm going to tell you a little story, real quick. In 1900, all of the the people that get Nobel Prizes, okay, smart people, they got together and they had an emergency meeting because something bad was going to happen around 1900, and they didn't know how they were going to feed the world. Okay? So two things were going to happen, and they really didn't know how they would feed the world. Anybody want to guess what those two things were? The flu. Nope. The flu, that was 1920s. I'm sorry? Oh, I heard population. Who said population? All right. So, the population of the earth was going to go to 1 billion people. Okay? It was going to go to 1 billion people. And they thought this was a catastrophe. They thought that there was no way that they could feed 1 billion people. You know why? Because they had no nitrogen. I'm sorry, I missed the joke. Oh, they had no tractors.
They had no.
That is true.
They had no master gardeners.
They had no master gardeners. So they had no fertilizer. They had no nitrogen fertilizer. So before 1900, the majority of agriculture as we know it happened in Europe and the Middle East. And where they got their fertilizer was some big islands off of the coast of one of the South American countries. Was it Chile? Chile. It might have been. Big islands of bird poop. Well, it was bird poop. Guano's bat. These islands were bird poop. And these were on the migratory path of billions of birds. They'd been there for years. And when they figured out that that poop was very high nitrogen, good nitrogen, the good people in Europe said, let's go steal it. Okay? And so there were several wars fought over this. And I think it is Chile. It was Chile. Because whatever the capital of Chile, I read a book about this. Santiago. At the time that they were mining bird poop, it was one of the richest capitals in the New World. And so, but by 1900, the poop was gone. The poop was gone. And so that was the best source of organic nitrogen that they knew of in the world, okay? And so they didn't know what they were going to do.
Raise chickens.
Well, you could. I mean, you could. You know what they did in England? Because you laugh, but in England, it became illegal to dispose of your bodily wastes. So have you ever heard of a slop jar or a slop wagon or whatever? Back in 1900s England, you had to capture your excrements, and then there was somebody that came and gathered that up, and then they turned it into nitrogen-rich fertilizer. Okay?
Like The Martian?
Like what?
The Martian, the movie?
I don't remember The Martian.
Where he's stuck in the moon. They left him or whatever, and he has to.
Oh, yes,
figure
that one.
out how to live.
So he
And
grew potatoes in his poop.
Yes.
Yes, exactly like that.
Yeah.
So,
It's called mucking the fields. And he survived.
and it's probably okay. I mean, I know it's a good source of nitrogen. So my point is, you said I hate anhydrous. I don't hate it. I have a master's degree from Texas A&M. Okay, so if you go to Texas A&M, you don't know organics when you graduate. You know commercial agriculture. And if it was not for commercial agriculture, this is why I never, take a side. How many people know who Borlaug, I can't remember his first name, Borlaug, the Borlaug Institute at Texas A&M. He is considered the leader. They say he's saved the lives of more humans than anybody else on the face of the earth. And what he did is he built small water, stuff that didn't require as much water, wheat and oats and things like that. And he worked with lots of fertilizer to feed India. India was starving. And he went in and he put in these advanced agricultural techniques, and he basically saved India. You remember when I was growing up, my family always said, clean your plate, the kids in India are starving. Yeah. Well, they were, okay? And so, anyhow, a German around 1900 created a thing called the Hager-Bosch manufacturing process, where they literally suck nitrogen out of the air. And so every nitrogen that you get, probably not anhydrous because it's a gas, but if you get ammonium nitrate, ammonium sulfate, it comes out of the back end of a plant. There's only 5 or 6 of them in the whole world. They've got them in China, they've got them in Canada, and they just pump out ammonium nitrate, ammonium sulfate. Great high nitrogen fertilizers, okay? If you're going to fertilize your grass, what do they tell you to put on your grass? Nitrogen, ammonium nitrate, right? 3300. Okay, that's what they tell you to put out. That's what this thing's putting out. But guess what else it was good for? Bombs. Ding, 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 ding. Okay? So it did save a lot of the world because they were able to have a cheap, readily accessible nitrogen to feed the crops, because they were intensively farming. Some of these farms in Europe have been farmed in the same place for 400, 500, 600 years, okay? And so you need fertilizer. You can't take without some commercial fertilizers. As gardeners, though, we don't need as many fertilizers, okay? And I will tell you this, that if you will do what Garland Allen did, and you will constantly amend your soil with organic matter, you can almost completely get rid of the need to use commercial fertilizers. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. On my lawn, I use commercial fertilizer. This fertilizer that I'm passing out to you comes from Nelson Plant Food in Belleville, Texas. He has a full line of commercial and organic fertilizers, and I use his lawn fertilizers in my yard. They're high nitrogen, slow release form. They're great fertilizers, okay? You know where people really get worked up and where people think there's a problem with fertilizers? Is what? Runoff. The overuse, which leads to runoff, okay? To runoff. That's where people really get worked up about commercial fertilizers and all. But you can use commercial fertilizers. They're safe as long as you use them safely. But anyway, so I don't hate anhydrous. I understand anhydrous runs commercial agriculture. And if it wasn't for anhydrous, then everything that we buy would be much more expensive. Because people think, it grows food, but what's also important with it, and probably more important than the food that we buy, is what? It grows what kind of food? It grows livestock food, right? So we grow it for us, but really, we grow a whole lot to feed cows. And so, no, I'm not anti-fertilizer. All right, so if you decide you want to be sustainable, and that can mean many things, okay? In my vegetable garden, I do not use herbicides, I do not use pesticides, and all of the fertilizing that I do in my food garden is organic. However, in my lawn and in my perennial beds and my flower beds, I use Nelson's Color Star, okay? So Color Star, it's a fertilizer. It has 3 types of nitrogen in it. Slow release, you put it out once, lasts 4 or 5 months. So I'm not saying you don't ever want to use fertilizer. But if your goal is to not use fertilizers, then know that you can. Okay, especially at the scale that we all garden. Okay? At the scale that we all garden, especially if you're gardening in the ground, you can get by with constant mulching. I tell people, mulch is the second most important thing you can put in your garden. What's the first most important thing? Your shadow. Okay? Your shadow. But,
That was corny.
huh?
That was corny.
So let me tell you, in this world I've learned that 2 things sell. Sex and cheese. And so I have to lean very heavy into the cheese, and so, all right? So yeah, that was corny. But, so the most important thing you can put in your garden is your shadow. The second most important thing is organic matter. So y'all live in highly calciferous soils, right? High limestone soils and everything. How many people have heard of the Arnoskis? The Big Blue Barn, what do they do?
These are the ones in by Blanco.
In Blanco, and what do? They are a flower farm, okay? They're Aggies. They bought 5 acres in Blanco. I think Blanco's soil is very much like here, right? Very crumbly and calciferous. And they've been doing it now. They graduated about the same time I did, middle 80s. And they've just been adding compost, working that soil, turning their flower stems back in, building that soil. And that's exactly what Garland did. And so they don't use commercial fertilizers. And they grow beautiful, beautiful products. And people are willing to pay a premium for them because they are organically grown. Okay? So anyway, my point is, you can garden without buying fertilizers. If you want to be sustainable, you don't have to buy products. People have been gardening without products forever. Okay? So, if you are going to garden and try to garden as cheap as possible, I don't know if y'all follow my social media, but I did a post earlier this year. So I said, there's a lot of reasons to garden, but generally saving money is not one of them. And so I had 3 Meyer lemons, and I told them, I said, you know, in that post, I said, I am holding $180 worth of Meyer lemons because last year, or 2 or 3 years ago, I lost all my citrus trees. So I had to go to growing in pots, and then last spring, everything got burned. You know, we got a little freeze that burned all of our flowers and all. And so I got a grand total of 3 Meyer lemons off of my 3 Meyer lemon trees that I paid $80 a piece for, okay? And that I nurtured for 2 years. So, if you're going to try to garden sustainably and stay kind of off-grid, you have to have a reliable water source. Okay, you're just going to have to. I'm sorry?
It's a given.
It is a given, okay? You have to be able to save and preserve seed. Okay, so if somebody for fertilizer, when everybody talks about what is an heirloom, what is an heirloom and why is that important?
It's the same thing that you planted in the first place.
That's right. Pass that down to her, please. So, an heirloom seed, they are called open pollinated. So heirloom is a weird term. It just means typically that the seed's been in trade for somewhere 50 to 100 years. But what it really means is open pollinated. And so if you have heirloom seeds, you can be pretty sure that if you plant the seeds from a Cherokee purple tomato, the next year you're going to get a Cherokee purple tomato. Okay? Because it's been bred to the point where its genetics are fairly stable. Now, there's other things with tomatoes. Tomatoes are really harder to cross-pollinate than people now because they self-pollinate anyway, but they can cross-pollinate, okay? But anyway, you need to know these things. If you want to be able to save seed from year after year after year and get the same thing, then you need to get open pollinated seeds, okay? So they have everything, squash, broccoli, anything you want, okay? They're very hard to cross-pollinate. And so that way, like I say, it just guarantees you get what you want. Y'all all garden, right? And I heard that y'all's community garden made like 4,400 pounds of food that y'all gave away. I think people that, I'm sorry?
That was just one.
One garden. Wow. See that? Yeah. So my point is that I don't think that people that don't garden, they don't really realize how much food you can produce in a fairly small amount of space. Okay? And if you want to keep that, then you're going to have ways to save it or stockpile it, and that's going to require different food preservation methods. Now, by far, even though I said the gardener's shadow is the most important thing you can have in your garden, water is probably pretty important. And it's probably right up there with that, I know. So, okay, I'll give you, I'm about out. So anyway, here in your area, cisterns, they're big. And I mean big popular, but they're also, you can get them very big. So my son-in-law is building a house right now in Wimberley. He's putting in a 31,000-gallon cistern, okay? Because they have such water problems in Wimberley, okay, he bought a piece of property that he has to share a well with 2 other people. And so to make sure that he has water, he's putting in this giant cistern, okay? So just know, you don't have to have a tank or a river or a bayou or whatever. You really can capture a lot of water in cisterns, okay? Sally and I, we have 5 cisterns on our place. And we capture and use a lot of water. And so if you don't have a tank, a river, a creek, or whatever, this is the thing to do. Fun fact, anything you buy for a cistern in the state of Texas is tax-free. So I didn't know if you know that, but you can get a form from the state of Texas. If you put in a cistern system and you buy PVC and PVC glue and valves and all of that, you fill this form out, send in your receipts, and they will refund your sales tax. Okay? So, surface water around here is a little harder to get than cisterns. Now, you can also stockpile water. You know how I told you Garland stockpiled water in 2-liter Coke bottles? Well, you can be a little more efficient than that, and you can store it in like 55-gallon drums. You can get those, 55-gallon drums, but this is kind of more of an emergency thing. I wouldn't want to run my garden off of 20 55-gallon drums of water, even though you can plumb them all together and essentially make them one tank. So, and the other thing that I wanted to tell you too, remember Snowmageddon, right? Oh, yeah. So everybody's power went out. Okay, we were lucky, we didn't ever lose power, but lots of people lost power. If you are going to rely on your water, and you want that water when you want it, then you need to have a pump. You need to have either a manual pump or a solar pump to get it out. How many people garden with cisterns? Does anybody in here garden with cisterns? What's the water pressure like?
Well, for me, it's just gravity flow, but
So it's not much.
No.
So it's not much. So if you're going to move water out of a cistern, you're going to have some kind of pump. They've got electric, they've got battery, they've got solar, they've got manual. Because if not, you can do it, it just takes a long time, right? So, and that's why I have the pump. I don't have time to let the gravity flow. I'm sorry?
No.
Okay. Oh my God. Nobody's helping me watch the time.
Don't worry.
That's what my wife is usually here for. And so anyway, stockpile food. The average person, if you really want to live off your garden and you need to save food, and like I say, when things get tough, people start thinking about stuff. The average person needs 2,000 calories a day. So that's basic life. That'll keep you going. The easiest way to save that, or to get those, is to save rice and beans. Now, we don't grow rice down here in the garden. You can buy rice very cheaply. It will keep for a very long time. But beans, you can grow beans, you can buy beans or whatever, but beans are going to be a protein source. And dried beans, if you leave them on the plant until they dry, you don't pick them green and put them out in the sun and all that. You leave them on the plant until they dry, and then you harvest them. Dried beans will last almost indefinitely. And if it gets really bad, you can eat them, right? So if you don't want to use them as seeds, if it gets really bad, you can eat them. So, man, I have a really good story, but I'm not going to tell it. Okay, I'm going to tell it. It's a really good story. Okay, so the other day I listened to podcasts. So there's a podcast that I listened to called The Anthropocene. And it was about the seed potatoes of Leningrad. And so the story is about when Hitler invaded Russia, the Russians at that time had the premier seed bank in the world. So they had stored up all of these genetics for wheat, barley, rice, potatoes, corn, and all of that. And Hitler wanted that seed bank. And so a bunch of Russians gathered up all of these samples that they had, and they hid them. And why this is such a big deal, I did not know this, and that's kind of the point of the story. The United States lost 880,000 people or something like that in World War II, okay? And Leningrad, you know...
No, it's 400,000.
Okay.
Military.
Okay.
Killed in World War II.
So whatever it was,
I'm sorry.
whether it was 400, 800, or whatever, Leningrad, the city of Leningrad, was losing like 100,000 people a month to starvation because the Nazis had them completely surrounded, and the Russians, to starve the Germans, had burned everything. So you had millions of starving people surrounded by hundreds of thousands of starving Germans. And so these people kept this seed collection together. I'm sorry?
Seed bank.
Seed bank. They kept the seed bank together. And the Nazis did not get it. But I don't remember the exact numbers, but there were like 24 or 25 people that did this, that saved this, hid this, and saved this. 12 of them starved to death. And when they got there, they found them dead on the sacks of wheat and barley. And one guy was dead at his desk with a pack of peanuts in his hand. And so they so valued that seed collection that they gave their life to protect it. Wow. And I just think that's a fascinating story, that those humans, they understood that we're going through bad times, but it's going to end, and what we have is going to be very valuable. And they literally gave their life to save that genetic material. I just think that's a fascinating story.
The seed bank is in Finland.
Currently. That's where it is now.
Where is it?
This is the seed bank.
Finland.
Yeah.
And they keep that underground too, right?
Yeah.
It's either underground or in caves or whatever. I'm sorry?
Frozen underground.
Yeah. So, but what I'm talking about, these were seed banks that were in Europe in the 1930s when Hitler invaded Russia. Okay? But that's where they are now. So anyway, food preservation methods. If you're going to grow all this food, you're going to have to save it. One thing that I've learned, somebody called the thing the other day and said, you need to have articles about canning in the magazine. And that's great, but I got to have somebody to write an article about canning. But, you know, a lot of people, how many people can? Yeah, I mean, almost everybody, you know how to can, you know how to preserve. I'll just tell you one thing that I've become very, I like a lot now is dehydrators. Okay, dehydrators are awesome. You know, how many people have fruit trees? You know, fruit trees produce an incredible amount of fruit. And so that's what my wife and I have done. You know, we used to put up peaches and all of that, but now we just dehydrate everything. I mean, she'll still put up peaches because dehydrated peaches aren't as good as fresh peaches. But you can store a lot of food now with a dehydrator. I think preserving food has become much easier. Oh yeah, and also root crops, okay? How many people grow winter squash? Yeah, all winter squash, okay? All winter squash, pumpkins are winter squash, right? And so we love winter squash, and we do save them. We just ate our last butternut squash tomato soup this week. So, you know, we're out. But we grew that this summer. So we've had squash up until now. All right, I'm really out of time, so I will just tell you, good gardeners grow plants, great gardeners grow soil microbes. If you want to grow, and you want to grow easily, and you don't want to have to rely on fertilizers, constantly amend your soil with organic material. You cannot put too much organic material into your soil, almost. I mean, there's practical limits. You can't garden in grass clippings, but if you work it in, it's going to make healthy soil. Healthy soil has everything that the plants need. So natural fertilizer increases water holding abilities. I just can't preach that enough. Mulch, 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 compost, compost, compost. And then if you're going to grow to save and all of that, just grow the things that are designed to store. All of your beans, you can dry your beans. All of your peas, your legumes, you can dry your legumes. Onions. Here's a fun tip. How many people have ever grown a bunch of onions and then tried to preserve them? Hang them. Save them, dry them, hang them. Hang them in your yard, hang them or whatever. I don't know if you've noticed, but the yellow onions are going to mold first. They always do. The hotter the onion, the longer it seems to last in storage. So, if you want to grow onions and try to save them in your garage or your barn or whatever, grow purple or the hottest onions you can find. Potatoes, we all know, potatoes, winter squash. Tomatoes, I put tomatoes up there because of the dehydrator. I don't like, I'll just be honest, I don't like canning tomatoes. It's a lot of work. I just don't like them. And so we dehydrate them. Sally makes a lot of things with dehydrated tomatoes. A lot, she uses them in her cooking. But you can dehydrate a ton of tomatoes, put them down in small space. You can make sauces, you can make pasta, you can make all of that. Oh, and pecans. I forget about, how many people have pecan trees? I'm sorry?
And squirrels too.
Well, you do have to fight the squirrels. But if you can win the battle with the squirrels, pecans will stay good if you keep them properly stored. They'll stay good 2, 3, 4 years, okay? So pecans are an awesome thing to store. And then the other thing, fruit, okay? If it ever gets bad, how many people have heard the 5 Gs? If everything, goes south and we've really got to learn off the garden, you need 5 Gs. Have you ever heard of this? You need God, gold, ground, guns, and grub, okay? So that's what you need if it goes really south and you've got to live off of your garden. And the reason I put fruit, wine, alcohol, or whatever, if you don't have any gold, you can make a bunch of fruit, wine, or liquor, and that can be your gold. I guarantee people will trade you things if you make grape wine or apricot wine or whatever. So, herbs, grow herbs, dry them, and then, this is it, mulch, 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 mulch. I feel bad when I go past my time.
No.
Yeah. Also, learn to forage. I'm sorry? Turk's cap. Everything on the Turk's cap is edible. A lot of these plants that are edible, it's the same thing as with killing. You want to get them when they're young, okay? So if you've got a full-grown Turk's cap, the leaves aren't going to be as good as they are in the spring when they come out, but they taste kind of like... So spinach is the chicken of the vegetable world, okay? So you know how everybody says, oh, it tastes like chicken? So every forager that I've ever heard talk about a green plant that you can eat, they say, oh, it tastes like spinach. Well, I have sauteed it. It does not taste like spinach, okay? It does taste worse, but if you could adjust to it, you could eat it. And there's a lot of it, all right? The other thing, the flowers are completely edible. I also don't think flowers taste very good. Everybody says, oh, you can eat the flowers, Johnny jump ups and nasturtiums. You can put them on your salads and all. They taste bad, but you can do it, okay? So, but let me tell you a fun little thing about Turk's cap. You know what really is good on a Turk's cap? Are the berries. But, so it's after the flower has already fallen off and they've made the white berries. We take that, we mash those berries, we steep them in water, and put a little honey in it, and it makes a very nice tea. So anyway, but that's, my point is, if y'all read the magazine, you know that we have that column in there, Fork and Weeds, and it's from Meriwether the Forager. And so I think that's very good information. If things get bad, it's good to know some of the things that you can eat in your natural world. And like prickly pear. And the whole thing about prickly pear is edible. You know, you got to know how to handle it, or have thornless prickly pear. Pawpaws are native. We don't have pawpaws too much around here. Cattails are edible. Here's a fun little thing. This is a story. How many people have heard of Dr. Moy? Dr. Moy, San Antonio Botanical. What is Dr. Moy famous for?
The Moy Grande hibiscus.
The Moy Grande hibiscus, that great old big hibiscus.
We have it at the park, at our park.
Yes, very, very popular in this area. He worked San Antonio Botanical Garden, plant breeder. He invented or bred some tangerines and lots of stuff. Moy Grande hibiscus. He, Moy. Yeah.
I think it's Moy.
I want to say Moy, but he was Dr. Moy. Okay.
His name
It's
is-
M-O-I Grande hibiscus. So Dr. Moy and his family fled Mao's China. Okay? I don't know if y'all have heard this story, but it's fascinating. And because he was a botanist, a horticulturist, he understood something about native plants. And so him and his family were able to, kind of like the sound of music, they were able to, go through a pretty rural part of China and get to the coast and get out of there. And he said the thing that kept him and his family alive was purslane. How many of y'all got purslane weeds? Okay? They're all over. They taste like spinach. They don't taste like spinach. In fact, I went to a mill recently where they cooked everything that they had foraged, and they said this stuff tasted like asparagus. So I really had my hopes up. It doesn't taste like asparagus either. But anyway, Dr. Moy said he was able to get his family out of China because he understood that he could eat some of these things. And I think that's pretty fascinating. The other thing, that if you are going to be a homesteader, off-grid, whatever, you're going to have to keep some animals. Number one, you're going to need the protein. But number two, their manure is always good. All of their waste, their litter is good. And that's it. So y'all, my grandma, this is another cool little thing real quick. One thing that I said in here, I recently learned this. I love this stuff. So somebody told me, my mother, I don't know who told me this, but I heard this not too long ago. They said during the Great Depression, you could live in the country and you could go outside and you would not hear a sound. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, you wouldn't hear birds. You wouldn't hear squirrels. You wouldn't hear anything. And I was like, why? And she said, because they were all dead. People were shooting them and they were eating anything that they could. And then another thing that a lady that I actually worked with at A&M told me, she said, back in the day, you know why everybody ate chicken so much? It wasn't because they liked chicken, but it's because you could consume a whole chicken in a single meal, because they did not have refrigeration. So that's why they ate more chickens, they ate pigeons, they ate rabbits, because they could consume those in a single meal and not have to preserve them. So I just think that's interesting.
It is interesting.
Isn't that fascinating? So yes, sir.
There's 2 points. One relates to that right there about the supply chain.
Right.
H-E-B, all the grocery stores, they get multiple trucks of groceries every day. I know this because I did it the last 20 years, delivered. So if anything interrupts the supply chain and you think you're going to be able to go to H-E-B, you're wrong. The place is going to empty out overnight, and then you need your food, your garden. Second point, as an average number per person to live off a garden for a year is about 200 square feet. So if there's 2 of you, you need about 400 square feet. Depends on what you grow, which is why you want the high nutrient.
High nutrient, high beans, okra, things like that. So,
Don't grow it if you're not going to eat it.
so
Don't grow it if you're not going to eat.
So anyway, y'all, to wrap it up, thank y'all for coming. If you want to be more sustainable, take care of the soil. The soil will take care of you. and preserve what you get.